to my fellow youth participants across the globe attending the United Nations Online Model UN program, esteemed guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. May I ask you, what were you doing in the morning of November 13, a Friday? As for myself, I decided to open the TV to check what was going on with the world before proceeding to work on school stuff. The footages made me sit longer as I stared at the sight before me. People sitting and crying on rooftops with an endless sea of water below them. Babies put on tubs and covered with plastic. Luckier ones were wading through knee-deep mud, while others were foraging for food and water where there were none. In general, it was a sight out of a disaster movie. But this was reality, specifically 2 days after Typhoon Ulysses, a powerful and deadly Category 4 storm that struck the Philippines and Vietnam. What was clear to me was that this was the effect of climate change, a topic often repeated in our classes and something Iloilo City experienced earlier during Typhoon Frank in 2008 and in November 2013 when Super Typhoon Yolanda ravaged the island of Panay and took us years to recover. All these made me think it is high time the world and us young people took serious action so that these painful realities can be avoided now and in the future. Luckily, we need not look further because the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, or SDG, has climate action listed under SDG 13 with a specific global target to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. But first, let me explain to you the main points in my speech. First, I will define climate change and its causes and effects. Secondly, I would like to discuss what we can personally do to mitigate climate change through climate action. And lastly, share with you which of the proposed 6 climate positive actions of the UN Secretary General is applicable to the Philippines and what we young people can do to help out. Many of us get confused with the differences between climate change and global warming. Based on my science lessons, global warming focuses on the planet's rising average temperature, while climate change usually deals with shifts in wind patterns, rain, and temperature over a given period. A study by the American Association for the Advancement of Science has stated that the scientific evidence is clear. Global climate change caused by human activities is occurring now, and it is a growing threat to society. Several of these are greenhouse gases produced by humans, including carbon dioxide from massive agricultural and livestock production, deforestation, and burning of fossil fuels for various needs. What are the effects of all these? Extreme weather, like stronger storms, more flooding, and heavier droughts. The long-term impacts are in health and in ecosystems, water and food resources, and rise in sea levels. So, what can young people do to mitigate climate change through climate action? The easiest that is within our capacity is instead of riding in our private vehicles, we can take public transports, walk, or bike to our destinations. We can also recycle and reduce waste, as well as make our homes energy efficient. Fellow young people, at this point, we cannot afford to be complacent. We must hold our governments accountable for the future they are preparing for us. We must insist the implementation of the 6 climate positive actions proposed by the UN Secretary General. However, in my own assessment, there are 3 that are best doable by the Philippine government. The first is the creation of green jobs and sustainable and inclusive growth. The second is making a green economy. This means the Philippine government makes people more resilient through a transition that is fair to all and leaves no one behind. And thirdly, we Filipinos must invest in sustainable solutions wherein fossil fuel subsidies must end and polluters must pay for their pollution. Ladies and gentlemen, right now is the time to make a commitment to make our world a far better place. I have explained the cause and effects of climate change and what we can personally do to avert its negative impacts. Moreover, you and I have the obligation to hold our governments accountable in the implementation of the 6 climate positive actions. Right now is the time to act for tomorrow.